So tonight we're talking about discovering your why. Again, so grateful that you decided to take the time to come and join us today. So this presentation, as I've mentioned, is for you personally, but closer toward the end, there's a lot more emphasis on an organization. So as we transition into that part of the presentation, feel free to think through how that applies to your personal life if that is why you're here. So I'll give you some hints along the way for your personal why, and I'm excited to jump in. So let's do that. So what is you? What is your nonprofit? And what is important for the services that you provide? It's really knowing who you are that sets the foundation for your success. So defining what lives at the heart of you or your business, it's the why. It's the fundamental belief that drives all of our actions. When we work from our why, then we're coming from a place bigger than ourselves to serve just because we're busy, and really because we have some meaning and some value behind it. Our service increases when we know what our why is. So it's the value that drives our purpose and our why. So simply working toward a goal doesn't bring value to the effort necessarily, right? But if we work from a place that's inspired, we can attract and unite and bring team members, clients, partners, family members, book publishers, whoever it may be, along for the ride. So the first step to knowing what is your why is finding your why. And Jody, I think this picture looks a lot like you. I'm just going to say it. All right. So having a vision for the future is powerful, but it's even more powerful when you know why you're doing what you're doing. So your why becomes that motivation toward the vision. Identifying your why will take a little bit of determination. It probably will take a lot of time. It involves a little bit of reflection, looking at your motivations, looking at your organizational values. And it's great to start with just asking yourself some questions. So here are those questions on the slide for you. And if you want to snap a picture, or as I said, I'm recording this so that you'll be able to go back. If you don't want to frantically write it all down, that's fine too. But the questions that you see on your screen there are: what matters to me most? What's the one thing I keep coming back to? And that can be personally or within an organization. What would be lost if this organization or you ceased to exist? Why are we important to the people we serve? Why would anyone dedicate their precious time, energy, and passion for our company, organization, family, group? Answering these questions will get you one step closer to discovering your why. Another thing that will be really useful for you as you're discovering your why is seeing your reflection, taking that time to pause. Things move so fast in our world, so fast. That sometimes we even forget to take a moment to look at our lives, where we are in life, evaluating who we are and where we want to go. January is a great time to be doing that. So I'm glad that you're here and being intentional about that tonight. But not stopping to take that moment, pretending like you're going to, and then never actually doing it, just puts you in this loop. You're making the same mistakes over and over again, and you're working blind to make those changes that are necessary to maintain the high performance that you're looking for. So working from your why endows every decision you make with purpose. If you understand why you're working toward a goal, then you always make intentional choices and always have a reference point to measure your movement. So why is that even important to begin with? Well, it's with your why that you create that solid foundation for your goals. And it's the goals that help climb those other things that you want to achieve, whether that's cultivating teamwork or providing a clear idea of where you're going in life. What's that next step for you? So goals really need to be set with an authentic purpose in mind, hence your why. So for example, I work in a fundraising department. I also, oh, by the way, I also have a small business called Nonprofits on a Mission. And through that organization, I do some consulting with nonprofits. Generally, it's when they start to think about fundraising, any kind of grant proposals or things along that nature, right? So when I'm in my Nonprofits on a Mission place, and I've got that hat on, I find that a lot of organizations just want money. They just want the money, but they're really not thinking through why they want the money and what is the mission behind that desire for the money. And once we put that framework in mind, then the goals just become so much clearer. It becomes so much easier to understand who they are, where they want to go, and why they need the money in the first place. So let's look at some purposeful considerations for achieving some goals. Here's some guidelines to help you establish, monitor, achieve your goals. It's probably going to sound familiar to you. It uses the acronym SMART. And so the first part of that acronym to achieve your goals is specific. Make sure that your goal is specific, detailed, understandable. Measurable. So how do you measure your goal to even know if you've reached success or not? SMA. A stands for achievable. So what do you gain by achieving your goals? What's the outcome? R is for relevance. So what does it mean? What is the value that that specific goal is bringing to you or your nonprofit organization? And timeliness. What is the time frame for achieving your goals? So if you've taken a minute to at least work through a SMART goal and worked through each one of those bits, then you'll have a better chance of defining what your why is. So the next step that you'll want to do is to communicate that. Identifying your why is sharing your purpose with others, and the best way to do that is get it in writing. I've got at least 3 writers in the room, and Jody writes like these amazing financial numbers, so I think that counts. So your why statement serves to encapsulate your purpose and your mission in one brief, all-inclusive sentence. See, I told you it would take a little bit of time. So a successful why statement should be simple, clear, actionable, focused, and basically understanding how you contribute to others. How do you bring value? So before you get started, let's look at an example of a successful statement. So there's a great formula that I like to use when I start thinking about crafting a why statement, and it's to blank so that blank. The first blank is to contribute. So to contribute what? So that, and the second blank is impact. So to contribute something so that impact. So the final draft may look something like this. To engage and inspire people so that people are motivated to do something creative every day. The one that I've settled on, and kid you not, it probably took me 3 years to get here, but my settle is to help others experience significance, that's my contribution, so that they can have influence, which is my impact. And if you are not familiar with John Maxwell, he says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So really my statement to help others experience significance so that they can have influence is really to help others experience significance so that they can lead. So take your time with this, write it down, try it out, to contribution so that impact. By the time that you've gone through that process and written it down once, and maybe scratched it out and written it down again, and then maybe waited a few months and scratched it out again, you will start to clearly articulate your why, and that's why it will be helpful for you and for others to understand your purpose. When I was typing that out back in the day when I was going through my drafts, the more that I verbalized it, the more I was like, yeah, this is me. This is where I want to settle. So when you communicate, think about writing, thinking about talking about it too, bouncing it off of people that you know, friends and family. Now, as a note here, you can do this both for yourself personally and for an organization, even for a board. Try that one on. That's always a fun exercise when you get a board involved. All right, so keeping your why alive and at the center of your organization and your decisions is quite literally a daily practice. Your why should be embedded in every aspect. whether you're at home or whether you're at work. It's how you talk about your organization, your life, what's your mission statement, what is your why, what is your why statement. It's represented in how you interact with others, how you inspire others. It's your reminder to stay motivated and on track with your vision. So let's look at some ways to keep your why at the center. And this is where we start to shift and think more about groups and organizations and teams. Being engaged in the daily performance and the daily ongoings in your life and in the group that you may be considering thinking about tonight will keep you focused and zoomed in on on how your why influences your daily activities. So, maybe you're like these folks and you're on the phone all day. Go figure, in a pandemic world, you might be on the phone more than you used to be. But keeping that why in mind as you're talking to a colleague, as you're talking to a family member, it helps you to communicate with them. It also helps people to understand who you are and to bring them alongside in that why. That level of engagement adds value by making everyone involved more aware of that richer, deeper goal. So I'd encourage you to think through, like, as you walk through your day, do you start with one intention and then end up somewhere else? Are you thinking about your why and then all of a sudden you're not? I know I do that from time to time. And so keeping it, again, written down in front of me, you know, on my phone, snapping a picture and making it my wallpaper is what I usually end up doing. That helps remind me throughout the day what my why is. All right, so sharing your why is not just enough to carry the message. We've talked about writing it down. We've talked a little bit about talking about it. It's a little bit more than that. It's actually the actions that you have. It's that commitment piece to the action. So every member of your team, whether that's a family, whether that's a board, whether that is someone at work, if they're able to also clearly communicate why the group is coming together, then you've got a really great start on headed toward that common why. And also understanding how you and your why comes together inside of that group and can help support and really be a strength to that group. Now, if people have a general sense of why you do what you do, then you're in the driver's seat and you've got a foot on the gas toward working toward your why and having some real success. So, for example, I was working with an organization to develop their mission statement, and most would say something along the lines of, "Oh, well, we just help children who are in the foster care system." I'm like, "No, I don't think that's what you actually do." And they're like, "That's what we do." And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe it's what you do, but that's not your why. That's not the reason and the emotion that's attached behind something like that." So as we kept talking about it and talking about it, they realized that they're not just helping children in the foster care system, they're giving children families. They're giving them that hand. They're helping to provide that love. And that's a whole different thing than just working with foster care children, right? So we ended up shifting their mission statement just a little bit to really help them understand the inspiration and the heart behind the why of what they were doing. And it was a great exercise for them because then all of a sudden somebody was like, "Oh, well, we work with foster care children." And they were like, "No, we work with social workers. We really help support the people who are helping the people." "No, that's not what we do. We help placement." Like, there's so many avenues, right? But when they really started talking about it and they came to that conclusion that they really are there to help support the child in a holistic way, that's a totally different conversation. So yeah, I'd encourage you to ask around if you're working on a team. Find out what other people think. It may surprise you what they come out and say. So it's a team that executes on your organization's vision. It's a family that comes together to move toward a more happier future. So you're encouraged to maintain a strong culture and performance. And some avenues to be able to do that is helping to provide a clear mission, that collaborative atmosphere, a learning environment where it's okay to make a mistake, and making sure that you have good results along the way. An organization culture, a family culture created when people have a purpose and a goal for the work that they perform is going to be the thing that propels you forward. So, for example, even though we're an author, it does take a team of people to get a book published. And I'm sure everybody's nodding their head. So when, let's say that you're self-publishing, when you pick that team, when you pick the designer, when you pick the editor, when you pick, whoever is going to publish the book in the end, even if you're publishing through a traditional house, it's the people that you come together, it's that group that really understand the heart of the why that creates that culture that, again, puts that foot on the gas and gets you to your next success. So many organizations market based on promoting what they do, right? Oh, we do this. Oh, we work with foster kids. Oh, we work with homeless women. But rarely do we see someone who is basing their promotion and they actually have the heart behind it. I always think of that axiom for fundraisers when they say, if you ask a donor for money, they'll give you advice. And if you ask a donor for advice, they'll give you money. And usually it's because when you come at it with that heart of asking for advice, you're listening. You're listening and you're understanding and you're having that conversation and you're hearing their heart. You're hearing their why, right? So donors don't always give toward what you do or how you do it. They give because of the why you do it. So setting yourself apart in your niche, whether that's book writing or whether that's nonprofit work or whether that's just you personally, knowing and explaining your unique purpose will allow you to stand out. You are giving them something to believe in that will make you more desirable and someone that they will actually want to stand beside and help see that vision through. So the why really does play out in your daily life, and it really does play out in teams too. So once you're clear on that why, it's easier to prevent distraction, no doubt. As you have that specific goal in mind and you have that vision and you're going, but come about March, it's going to be hard to get back on the elliptical and it's going to be hard to get back into that writing and you're going to want to sleep in that extra hour. And I get that. It's hard. There are a few ways that you can help to shimmy away some of those distractions and some of those things that make it a little bit more hard. The first one is to make sure that you're still clear on your goal. Maybe the goal has shifted a little bit, and that's okay. But making sure that the goal still aligns with your why is important. Quarterly reviews are something that a lot of people will do. If you're on a board, they'll review like the bylaws or the mission statement on a regular basis every year or two. If you are meeting with struggle, then zoom right in on your why. It will snap you right back into focus on where you're going and what you like to do. And sometimes it even shows itself a solution too. You may find that as you are struggling and you're not sure where to go next, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, if I thought about my why, it opens up this whole new avenue. Yes, right? Maybe I will ask that donor for advice and see what happens. So there's a lesson if you're running into the same blocker over and over and over again, right? There's a lesson in that. We can learn from that too. So I'd encourage you to, again, reflect, pause, think. I know it's hard. We got a lot going on, but doing so will help you to not keep hitting your head on the same ceiling over and over again. And it's in that struggle that we end up finding the path forward. Another way to not get so distracted in the struggle, I'll call it, is to make sure that you're including actions that are purely just for fun, purely just to inspire you, and purely to make the community a better place. And here's where I get on my little nonprofit soapbox for a moment. But nonprofits exist to make communities better. And so creating a brand for yourself, creating a brand for your team that gives back into the community is a great way to do that. A lot of organizations will look at a community-based cause that has something to do with what they're already working on. And it's a great way to ensure their team members understand the why, that they can give back in the why as they also give their time, talent, and treasure to their organization. And it just shows you a way that your why is bigger than yourself. It's bigger than you and me and these four walls that I'm sitting in right now. When I get out into the community as safely as I can these days, it does give me that opportunity to say, wow, my why to help people experience significance so that they can have real impact is making a difference here, and I can see that. So that's another way to maneuver a little bit around some of the struggles you may have when you're distracted with things that are not a part of your why. Another way is to make sure that you are aligning with your mission as you're giving back to the community. So for example, maybe somebody works full-time at a plastics manufacturer of bottles like you see on your screen. And maybe their manager encourages them to work with a nonprofit who is making sure that beaches are clean from plastics. And then they can take those back and recycle them. That's a great way to still have that why, but maybe put a little bit of a spin on it, right? Every time that you can get your team members involved in that too will help to build not only the team culture, but also the why and how their personal whys can connect with that team too. Volunteering is a great way to strengthen your team while also strengthening your community. So personally, as you've heard, I work at a health and human services nonprofit because I believe in their why. My statement of helping people experience significance drives me to be on the board of the organization that helps women who are on the cusp of homelessness. That's how, on the side, I also coach women who are in the nonprofit sector. I want to make sure that they are reaching their next level of success and to experience that significance so that they too can be leaders. Those are completely different activities. Those are completely different things that I do. They don't often overlap a whole lot besides the nonprofit piece, but it's still built on the same why. I can still see my why as the basis for all of that. And I hope that you're now starting to see how your why could be the basis of all you do too. Now, we will experience failures, let's be real, right? It happens. But staying connected to your why provides you with a solid foundation to address those failures. It's okay. In the failure lies the opportunity to learn from our mistakes. So keep going, keep reflecting, keep taking that step back and focusing on your why. Adapting a habit of looking at failures with you, with your family, with your team to determine what changes need to be made in the future is where it's all at. Failure can lead to more failure unless you are willing to look at it and to use it to your advantage to help pursue and to help move things forward. Now, of course, another way to keep those distractions at bay is to ask for feedback. It's not easy, but it is a constructive way to reflect and grow and succeed in your leadership. So transparency when it comes from performance, how you're perceived, keeps you honest, keeps you focused on your why. So a great time to ask for feedback is after a meeting, after a presentation like this. You can expect me asking you for feedback. At an annual review, when you're ready to make a change. Maybe something's been percolating in your mind, a new book idea perhaps. That's a great time to ask for a little bit of feedback, see how it would reflect in the market. You can even ask for feedback in the moment. Thumbs up, am I doing okay so far? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs, great. So remember, your responses for receiving feedback is just as important as asking. Doing so graciously, of course, with a smile. Even if I saw a few of these, I'll pretend like it was like this. And then for those who went like this, I'll ask you more about it later. So then I can learn, right? Learning from the failure is a part of it all. But don't forget to celebrate your successes. Hey, we get to the cool stuff now. So celebrating milestones, celebrating the goals that you've reached, it's another great way to keep focused on your why. It's a great way to acknowledge your team, to acknowledge the value that has been added, the work that has been done, and the way that you have fulfilled your goals as a team or as an individual. You could do things like, have a family barbecue safely. These days it might be takeout on the back porch with the hubby, but I will take that. You can create a special award. Maybe it's for yourself. Maybe it comes from an organization, as you see on my bookshelf back there. Oh, this one's really fun. I like doing this one. Hold a meeting and don't really give a lot of insight into what's on the agenda. And then when they show up, it's like, surprise, we're just here to celebrate you. Done that a few times, and people get a little quiet and a little nervous, and then they're like, oh, this is okay. Let's talk about what we succeed. And by the time that they start listing all of the successes that they've had, you realize you really did accomplish a lot. That one's fun. I enjoy doing that. I've even reflected on social media, like, this is what I've been working on, and now I'm here and it's happening, and it's really exciting. I love celebrating when an event comes after an event at any of the nonprofits that I work for. It's so much fun to see them be like, yes, we did it. So don't forget to celebrate yourself too amidst all of that. I know we're all high achievers, so sometimes it's okay to talk about yourself and to reflect and realize that you've done a lot of good work too. So in 4 weeks, I'll be talking about core values. And the why is really the undergirding of this whole year. But as you're working through it, you're going to find that having some values really helps to shape and give some good boundary lines to that why. So if you are interested in doing something like that, I will throw that link here in the chat in just a moment. And there's plenty of ways for you to connect with others this year, fulfill your why. I know that you've probably already got some people in your mind where you're like, ooh, I need to connect with them. I want to talk about this why thing that I learned about. Or, ooh, I need to connect with them because I want to find out if they're thinking what I'm thinking for our organization. So this is the part where I get to purely say, celebrate you and celebrate the fact that we have made it to the end. And I am so grateful for you. It just means a lot to me to be able to share this particular lesson. I connect deeply with why and with purpose and mission, vision, value statements, which is why my company is called Nonprofits on a Mission. So it's your time to get started. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to actually, all right, if you really want to do more reading, this is where it's at. I'm leaving this on the recording, and I will keep it here just for a minute in case you really want to snap a picture. A lot of them are just random articles that are really fun to look at. Here are the rest of the articles if you want to dive in a little bit deeper and think a little bit more about that. And then thanks again. That's me. That's the website. If you go to that website, that's where the rest of these webinars are for the rest of the year. Well, through June, I think it is. I only keep 6 months on the website. And you can always go to LinkedIn, Facebook, search Nonprofits on a Mission there.